I went through hardship with Willow, scraping by and swallowing bitterness, until our startup finally succeeded. After that, Willow's ex-boyfriend sent me a provocative text. "George, just watch. I'll take Willow back from you." I fired back without hesitation. "Fuck off." When evolution was happening, did you hide somewhere? How the hell do you even manage to say something that inhuman? What I never expected was this. He wasn't the only one who slipped through evolution's net. Another surviving freak was right there beside me. Chapter 1. A week before the wedding, I happened to scroll past Willow's ex-boyfriend's Instagram. In the photo, Willow and him stood facing each other, hands clasped together. The caption read, "We've always loved each other." I stared at my phone, completely stunned. 5 minutes later, Willow replied under that post, "I am willing to be passionately entwined with you for a lifetime." The official announcement was pretty romantic. If I weren't Willow's husband-to-be, I immediately called Willow. She hung up. Right after that, a message popped up on my phone. "In a meeting, do not disturb." I suddenly remembered that morning, when she told me she had a very important project today and asked me not to bother her. Now it seemed that project really was important, at least a multi-hundred million in-bed project. I sat frozen on the couch, my mind completely blank. An hour later, Willow finally called me back. Her tone was as gentle as ever. "George, what's wrong?" Listening to her calm, familiar voice, I figured she didn't yet know that her Instagram post with her ex had already blown up. I'd been with Willow for 5 years, from 23 to 28. I stayed with her from the days when she had nothing, all the way to becoming the boss of 2 companies. She wasn't exactly a socialite, but she was definitely someone with status and influence in Orange City. We met because of campus recruitment. Back in my senior year, Willow came to our university to recruit. Other companies' booths were packed with people. Only hers was deserted. Out of pity, I sat down across from her. Willow enthusiastically introduced her company to me. She said it was a startup, desperately short of talent, and that if I joined, I'd be one of the founding members. She really was short on people, especially idiots like me, fresh out of school, the type who believes every empty promise. One big shiny pie from her, and I sold myself completely to the company. Even when business dinners meant drinking until I needed my stomach pumped. Even when revising proposals meant working until dawn. Later on, even when others offered me a high salary to poach me, I never once considered leaving. That's how I went from a clueless college graduate to the CEO of a company. As for me and Willow ending up together, that was purely an accident. 2 years ago, during a project with a government department, we were forced to drink. When I woke up, she was gently stroking my face and said, "George, let's be together." I didn't agree immediately. After all, I hadn't seen any evidence left on the bedsheets. But looking at Willow's face, so beautiful it could topple cities, I only held out for 3 days before shamefully giving in. Truth be told, Willow and I did share many good moments. We worked on proposals together, watching the sunrise over Orange City. After drinking too much at business events, we lay together on a university track field under the star-filled sky. We endured cold stares together, even being chased away by other people's bodyguards. I remember once, after entertaining clients until late at night, we passed by Orange City's People's Square on our way back. She grabbed my hand and, ignoring the shocked looks around us, lay down in the middle of the square and said to me, "George, remember my words. One day, I'll work with you right here. Our company's building will be built right here." I mocked her. "Willow, if you don't have a mirror, haven't you at least pissed recently? This is the most expensive land in Orange City, 100,000 per square meter. Just look at the 2 of us. Do we deserve it?" Willow didn't argue. She turned her head and looked at me seriously. "When that day comes, I'll buy you a luxury apartment here. It'll be a reward for staying by my side all these years, never leaving." Her focused, earnest gaze moved me deeply. I think it was from that moment on that I had already fallen in love with her. Chapter 2. The 3rd day after we slept together happened to be the company's annual gala. By then, she had already fulfilled her original promise, moving the company to People's Square in Orange City. She had also bought me a luxury apartment there as a reward. The company had grown from just the 2 of us back then to a staff of 300 today. At the annual gala, she took my hand and proudly said to everyone below the stage, "If it weren't for George, the company would have collapsed long ago. We wouldn't have today's achievements, and there wouldn't be the Willow standing here today. Let's raise a glass to George." Her words went straight to my head, but I deserved them. Over the past few years, every time she wanted to give up, I was the one who stayed by her side, helping her secure one order after another. That was the only reason the company survived. As for the establishment of our branch companies, that was entirely driven by me. Business licenses, fundraising, recruiting partners, I handled all of it. After the gala, she was in high spirits from drinking. She insisted on coming back to my apartment, saying she wanted to keep talking about the company's future. Somehow, as we talked, the clothes talked themselves off again. When I woke up, I told her firmly that I agreed to be with her. She hugged me happily and said she had already fallen for me a long time ago. She also said that in the future, she'd never find anyone else willing to endure hardship with her the way I had. I knew she had an ex-boyfriend named Makoto. They were a classic campus romance. Classmates who got together freshman year. They dated for 4 years. After graduation, Makoto wanted to take Willow back to his small hometown. But Willow refused. They broke up peacefully. In fact, the reason Willow quit her job and insisted on starting a business was because she wanted to prove herself, to let Makoto see. She told me this back then when she was drunk, lying on the university track field. She said that if Makoto had chosen to stay, they might have already been married by now. If that were the case, she wouldn't have started a business at all, and would probably be living a 9-to-5 corporate drone life. When she said these things, there was regret, but also honesty. So I never paid much attention to Makoto. After all, who doesn't have a past? Even a year ago, when Makoto returned to Orange City and secretly followed my Instagram, I casually followed him back, and never even mentioned it to Willow. In my heart, what Willow and I had was mutual devotion. Now it seems my confidence slapped me hard in the face. Even so, I still held onto a sliver of hope for Willow. That's why, during the phone call, I didn't question her about anything. After hanging up, I went straight out to the influencer restaurant Makoto had accidentally exposed on Instagram. I'd been to that place before. When it first opened, Willow and I had checked in at the couple's restaurant together. As soon as I got out of the car, I saw Makoto holding a rose provided by the restaurant, offering it to Willow. Willow accepted it with a shy expression. Today, Willow was wearing a long blue dress. Makoto was dressed in a blue suit. Anyone with functioning eyesight could tell they were wearing matching outfits. My legs felt weak. I leaned against a tree across the street and called Willow. She picked up her phone, frowned impatiently, and hung up. The next second, a message appeared on my phone. In a meeting, do not disturb. Anger surged in my chest, rage at being deceived, and heartbreak at being betrayed. Clenching my teeth, I struggled to steady the emotions churning inside me. Chapter 3. It took me a long while before I finally calmed down. I took off the wedding ring on my hand and hurled it straight at the restaurant's glass window. The sharp sound of metal scraping against glass caught Willow's attention. When she saw me standing across the street, she instantly panicked. She jumped to her feet, rushed out of the restaurant, and ran toward me. Makoto, who had no idea what was going on, followed her out. But the moment he saw me, a smug smile appeared on his face. You're fucking disgusting, Willow. I narrowed my eyes and spoke coldly as I looked at her panicked face. Years of being ground down by society had taught me to stay calm no matter what happened. But seeing the two of them dressed in matching outfits genuinely made my stomach churn. Willow noticed where my gaze landed. She turned around and saw that Makoto had followed her out. Makoto, I need to deal with something. You should go first. Makoto smiled, stepped in front of Willow, and deliberately blocked her from me. You must be George. Willow was just talking about you. Don't get the wrong idea. I've got nothing going on with Willow. I fucking wish this were a misunderstanding, but you're talking to me with your hand on Willow's waist. What? Declaring ownership? I looked at Makoto with open disdain. Hearing that, Willow hurriedly pulled Makoto's hand off her waist. I reached out and shoved Makoto aside, then looked straight at Willow. You have 10 seconds. Make this idiot disappear from in front of me. Makoto's face darkened. George, why are you so uncivilized? You just start swearing the moment you open your mouth. That actually made me laugh. What kind of stupid are you? Does your mouth double as a waste outlet? Did you crap your brain out? I honestly wonder. When evolution was happening, did you hide somewhere? With a brain this empty, how did you even manage to say something so stupid? Makoto's face flushed red. He turned around and left. After he was gone, I walked back into the restaurant. Seeing Makoto's Instagram had filled me with rage. After cursing that bastard out, once the anger drained away, my stomach started hurting. I sat down in the seat Willow and Makoto had just occupied. Willow looked uncomfortable. No doubt she felt sick about it too. I didn't care. I called over a server and started ordering food. This influencer restaurant gave couples a red rose with their meal. By coincidence, it was the same server who had taken Willow's order earlier. When the server handed Willow another red rose for the second time, she froze. Her face was full of disbelief. She'd probably never seen someone pull a stunt like this before. I cut into the steak the server brought over and stuffed a big bite into my mouth. Chewing, I pointed at the rose and asked Willow, so tell me, do the two of us still have any use for this thing now? Willow pleaded softly, calling my name. George. I cut her off. Are you fucking blind? Can't you see I'm eating? Are you trying to make me throw up? Willow swallowed her words and didn't dare speak. The meal lasted a full hour. During that hour, my mind was racing nonstop, running through every detail related to divorce. I wasn't terminally ill, and my mental state was perfectly normal. If something like this is forgiven once, there will be a second time, a third time, until you're disgusted to death. There were no kids yet, and the wedding hadn't happened. Cutting things clean now was the smartest move. Our biggest entanglement was the company. I held no shares in the parent company. The branch company, however, was entirely under my name. We hadn't signed any prenuptial agreement when we got married, but there was no way I'd be dividing Willow's assets in half just because of a useless marriage certificate, while I was calculating how to split things to maximize my own interests. That disgusting woman Willow was actually worrying about how our wedding at the end of the month couldn't be affected in any way. Chapter 4. Seeing that I had finished eating, Willow finally spoke. She said, "George, I won't divorce you." I was stunned by her shamelessness. "So if we don't divorce, what, are the three of us supposed to live together? At the wedding at the end of the month, you stand in the middle and swear to both of us that you'll love both of us for the rest of your life?" Willow shook her head. "Don't talk nonsense. Anyway, I'm not divorcing you. Fuck. It turns out that when someone like me, who still has a moral bottom line, argues with a beast like her, I'm the one who loses out." Looking at Willow with her head lowered, silently crying, I asked, "Tell me then, when did you two get back together? Before we registered our marriage, or after?" After a long silence, Willow finally replied in a low voice, "We didn't get back together." "Didn't get back together?" I sneered. "Then what are you two? Using each other? Or do you just enjoy messing around with some plants to bring a bit of fresh air into our marriage?" Used to being in a position of authority, Willow was pushed by my aggressive questioning. Her expression shifted from guilt to anger. In the end, she still forced herself to suppress it. "George, you're not calm right now. Let's talk about this in a couple of days." I nodded and agreed. Anger had already taken the high ground. My IQ wasn't coming back online anytime soon. I needed to calm down, sort out what belonged to me, and make sure Willow didn't end up benefiting from this. On the way home, Willow kept trying to explain, but she really had no standing to do so. After hesitating again and again, she ultimately said nothing. When we got home, I went straight into the bedroom. Not long after, Willow, dressed in pajamas, pushed the door open and looked at me pitifully. I shoved her straight back out and said, "Willow, we've been together for 5 years. Do you really think I, George, would drink someone else's dirty dishwater?" The temper she'd been holding back since getting caught finally exploded. "George, why do you talk so disgustingly? Makoto would never talk to me like this." I laughed. That part one really can't compete with Makoto on. He doesn't have to give anything, just say a few sweet words, and you're already like a dog, sticking your tongue out and licking him. Willow's face turned ashen. She couldn't refute it. After all, my contributions over the years were real and undeniable. I slammed the bedroom door shut in rage. From outside the door came Willow's voice, over and over again, saying she was sorry. Leaning against the door, my chest hurt so badly I could barely breathe. 5 years of memories kept flooding my mind. Back at campus recruitment, when I signed my name on the contract, she clenched my hand and said, "George, we'll definitely become the best partners." When we were drunk, lying together under the stars, she said, "George, one day we won't have to humble ourselves, drinking our way through business dinners." The morning after that one-night stand, she held me and said, "George, companionship is the longest confession of love. I'll stay by your side for the rest of my life." When we registered our marriage, she said, "Husband, please take care of me for the rest of our lives." She destroyed 5 years of hopes and expectations. How could I not be in pain? How could I not be furious? Just as my anger gave me a splitting headache, Makoto sent me a private message on Instagram. He said, "George, Willow has always been unwilling to make our relationship public. Do you know under what circumstances that Instagram post was made?" The moment I thought about how, after we had already registered our marriage, she and Makoto were still sleeping together, my stomach twisted violently. Great. Those two idiots finally managed to make me sick enough to throw up. I fell ill that very day, maybe out of guilt, maybe as some kind of atonement. Willow took care of me day and night without even changing her clothes. She even swore her loyalty to me and blocked all of Makoto's contact information. But watching the constant message notifications flashing on her phone, I knew those messages had to be from Makoto. Chapter 5. By the third day of lying at home, Makoto finally lost his patience and sent me a message. "George, I never meant to steal Willow from you. Was it really necessary to make her delete and block me?" I couldn't be bothered to reply. When he saw I wasn't responding, he sent another message. "Since you're being this ruthless, don't blame me for taking Willow back." And he really meant what he said. Not long after, Willow's phone rang, an unfamiliar number. The moment she answered, panic flashed across her face. She, who had been glued to my side these past few days, not leaving me for a second, suddenly stood up and rushed toward the door. I turned my head and asked, "Where are you going?" She stopped in her tracks. "There's something urgent at the company. I'll go take care of it and come right back." "Okay." I let out a cold laugh. "If I say no, will you stay?" Willow hesitated for a moment, said sorry, and still left. I packed up my things as fast as I could, deleted Willow's fingerprint and face recognition access. Then I left the house. In those 3 days, I had thought everything through. There was no way I could accept a tainted Willow. Since she wanted to be a slut, I'd grant her wish. I went straight to the small apartment next to the branch office. I'd bought it purely for convenience at work, and only a few close friends knew about it. The first thing I did was contact a real estate agent and list the luxury apartment Willow had bought me as a reward. Just after settling in, David, a partner from the branch company, came looking for me. "Is it about the branch?" I asked. David nodded. "For the past year, I'd been stationed at the branch company. Apparently, Willow took advantage of my absence to roll back into bed with Makoto. But now, none of that mattered anymore. If the two of them chose to reunite, it meant both of them wanted it. Even if I stayed glued to Willow every single day, they would have found a way to get back together anyway." After finishing the discussion about the branch company, David looked at me teasingly. "You're really a workaholic. The wedding's at the end of the month, aren't you preparing for it at all?" I shook my head. "There's no wedding." David looked up, staring straight into my eyes. "What happened? You and President Liu have been together for so many years, don't tell me you broke up." I didn't explain the details to David. Some pain a man has to swallow on his own. Saying it out loud only makes people look down on you. "I'm saving you a gift money envelope. You should be happy." Seeing that I didn't want to talk, David didn't press further. Between friends, it's important to leave space for each other. I pushed him toward the door while saying, "Instead of gossiping here, you might as well go talk to your dad about the next round of company cooperation." After sending David off, I went back to my parents' place. At the dinner table, I told them the wedding was cancelled, and asked them to notify the relatives who had already received invitations. My dad exploded with rage. If Willow hadn't been a woman, I had no doubt my father, former military, would have beaten her half to death. My mom, on the other hand, was calm and rational. She said this was actually something to be grateful for. If the wedding had happened and there were kids involved, it would have been far messier. I was grateful for my parents' open-mindedness. They fully supported my decision to get a divorce. Chapter 6. Willow called me early the next morning. We agreed to meet at a cafe next to the company. When I arrived, Willow was already there. 2 coffees ordered, waiting for me. The moment she saw me, her face filled with hurt. "George, why did you change the password at home?" I waved my hand, not in the mood for her nonsense, and slapped the divorce agreement straight onto the table. The moment she saw it, Willow's expression turned ugly. She insisted she would absolutely not get divorced. She begged in a low voice, "George, the wedding is at the end of the month. If we cancel it now, where will both families put their faces?" I let out a disdainful snort. "Put their faces? You don't even have a face anymore. Why would you need a place to put it?" Ignoring her wounded look, I continued, "I've already packed up your things and mailed them to your company. That luxury apartment is under my name alone. Don't come anywhere near it." I don't know how Willow explained things to her family after going home. That very night, her mother called me. At first, she spoke gently, trying to persuade me. When she saw my attitude was firm, she changed her tone. "George, yes, this matter was Willow's fault, but canceling the wedding at a time like this, that makes you the one in the wrong. Besides, if you divorce, do you really think you'll ever find someone as good as Willow again? Your current career, even the place you live in, all came from Willow." I hadn't wanted to tear things apart, but since she had no shame, I wasn't about to hold back. I replied coldly, "Everything I have today, I fought for myself. With your daughter's personality, giving up every other day, without me, she'd be nothing. Don't even think about brainwashing me." Not giving her a chance to argue, I continued, "If you think cheating can be forgiven, then I sincerely wish you and your husband's mistresses, number 3 and number 4, many children and grandchildren. And I wish your daughter-in-law brings you a few extra sons too, so you can become a big happy household as soon as possible." She completely exploded, spewing filth nonstop. "I opposed Willow marrying you from the very beginning. Who the hell do you think you are?" I had no desire to continue the conversation. I cursed the old hag and hung up. She'd opposed Willow marrying me back then for one simple reason. I never catered to her. When the branch company was first established, she wanted to stuff her relatives into it. Calling it using family is more reassuring. Willow acted like a quail, never once opposing her mother. When her mother looked at me with hopeful eyes, I rejected her without mercy. Later, when Willow and I were preparing to register our marriage, she came to me with an arrogant attitude and declared that if I married Willow Liu, it would count as me marrying into the family, and that our future children would take the surname Liu. Unfortunately for her, she miscalculated. There's a common trait among sons-in-law who swallow endless abuse after marriage. The old shrew is already squatting on your head taking a shit, and you're still worshipping her like your own mother. So I calmly told her, "Learn a bit about how to be a human being. Don't think that just because you crawled out of the mountains, you've crossed class boundaries. The prerequisite for crossing class boundaries is that you're actually a person, not a beast." From that day on, Willow's mother officially declared war on me. Chapter 7. After we got married, she would drop by my place whenever she felt like it. Looking at the housekeeper, she put on a painfully sympathetic expression. George, hiring a housekeeper costs so much money. Can't you just stay home and take care of Willow properly? Willow works so hard outside. When she saw I didn't respond, she leaned over to Willow and said, "Silly girl, you have to keep a close eye on men. George is out socializing all day and only comes home at night. Who knows if, after drinking, he goes to those filthy places." I looked at the silent Willow with open mockery. "Since you want to play the coward, don't blame me for not holding back. I've only ever heard of women having their feet bound in the old feudal days. Did you get your cerebellum bound too, to be able to say something this idiotic?" She went crying to Willow. Willow looked at me, utterly helpless. Before she could even speak, I went off on her. "Did you get your damn cerebellum bound too? She says your husband is out fooling around everywhere, and you don't stand up for me. Instead, you take her side. She's your mom, not your client or sugar daddy. You don't need to spoil her like that." Willow didn't dare speak anymore. She knew full well, even combined, she and her mother weren't enough to withstand my mouth. I originally thought that after the Makoto incident, Willow and I could part ways with dignity. After all, we were both supposedly respectable people. Turns out I overestimated her. The very next day after I cursed out her mother, Willow came to the branch company. She laid it all out bluntly. Divorce was fine, but on the condition that I leave with nothing. The branch company shares would all be transferred to her as well. She also said she wanted me to return the luxury apartment she had rewarded me with back then. After saying all that, she carefully watched my expression. Seeing no reaction, she continued, "George, if you agree to let the wedding at the end of the month go on as planned, we can renegotiate all of this." Looking at Willow, I finally saw her shamelessness for what it truly was. She didn't marry me because she loved me that much. She married me because I was genuinely willing to sell my life to her cause. Now that we were divorcing, she knew full well she'd never get her hands on the branch company. After all, the shares were held by me and several other shareholders, and the second branch company we were setting up had nothing to do with her either. But how she even had the nerve to demand that I leave with nothing. I seriously wondered if she was sleepwalking. Seeing that I still wasn't responding, she started trying to brainwash me. "George, you know how our circle works. Men or women, who doesn't keep a few lovers on the side. But have you ever seen anyone actually get divorced over it?" That was the moment I completely lost it and laughed. I asked her, "Willow, back in your mountain hometown, if someone gets caught cheating, what's the punishment?" Her face darkened instantly. "What circle are you talking about? You're just a farmer. No one loved you. No one wanted you. Not even your own brother. A fake orphan like you. And you want to talk to me about circles? You think you're worthy?" Having her old wounds ripped open, Willow looked deeply hurt. After a long while, she let out a deep breath. "I've cut things off with Makoto. I won't contact him again. Is that okay?" Whether she cut him off or not, I truly didn't care. Besides, just days ago when Makoto threatened suicide, wasn't she the first one to rush over? Makoto even posted online, "Losing you means losing the reason to live." Ha, such cheap tricks. I don't believe that someone like Willow, who survived this long in the business world, couldn't see through that. It was just that concern clouded her judgment. I commented under that post, "Trash belongs with trash, bitch and dog. Forever together. Wishing you happiness. I won't look anymore. Afraid I'll catch stupidity." Blocked. Chapter 8. The wedding at the end of the month ultimately didn't take place as scheduled. To the outside world, Willow announced that the wedding was postponed due to work. Seeing that she was determined not to divorce, I filed a lawsuit directly with the court. That finally panicked her. She came to find me again. Her posture lowered to the dust. She knelt in front of me, hugging my legs and begging, "George, the day Makoto came looking for me to get back together, I drank too much. That's why I did those ridiculous things. Can you forgive me just this once? I promise it'll never happen again." I took off my pants. Hope instantly lit up Willow's eyes. "Don't get the wrong idea," I said calmly. "You're too filthy. Anything you've touched, I don't want anymore. The pants are yours." From that day on, Willow showed up at the branch company downstairs every few days, putting on a cliched chasing the ex-husband performance. Ironically, after I blocked Makoto, he couldn't provoke me on Instagram anymore, so he changed tactics. One evening after work, I saw Willow standing in the lobby. The fresh hickeys on her neck made me want to laugh. No mirror, no piss either. Take a good look at yourself. You can't even act convincingly. Can you be any more useless? Willow looked at her neck in the mirror and went pale. From that day on, she stopped pestering me. She was probably off fighting with Makoto instead. The peace didn't last long. Soon, I received a message from Makoto. "George, why don't you just go die?" I fired back immediately. "Because I'm not you. A grown man threatening suicide. Last time you failed. I was honestly a little disappointed. Why didn't you die for the decent people?" Knowing he couldn't win against me verbally, Makoto showed up in person and asked to meet at the cafe downstairs from my company. I was actually curious to see him. After all, meeting him let me witness biodiversity firsthand. The moment we sat down, he went straight for the jugular. He said that the day he slept with Willow, she really had been drinking, but that she was the one who threw herself at him. He also said that when he returned to Orange City a year ago, it was Willow who brought him back, that she had gone on a business trip to his city and she sought him out on her own initiative. He looked at me mockingly. George, do you know what Willow said when she came to me? She said not leaving with me back then was the biggest regret of her life, that if she could go back in time, she'd give up all her current wealth and status without hesitation just to go with me, to marry me. Watching him grin smugly, I didn't know whether to congratulate him or call him an idiot. A kept pretty boy. Telling me this was true love, I spoke calmly. If Willow loves you so much, why is she dragging her feet and refusing to divorce me? Makoto's smile faded. I kept going. You're after money. She's trying to make up for her past regrets. A sponsorship arrangement so pathetic even dogs would shake their heads at it, and you managed to dress it up as love. How did you pull that off? Makoto completely lost it and blurted out. Then divorce her. If you divorce Willow and she marries me, won't we finally be legitimate? I lifted my hand and smashed the coffee cup against his head. Wanting to move up after being kept, I won't blame you for that. But how do you have the nerve to say it so righteously? You useless piece of trash. After all this time, you still couldn't secure one Willow. You're nothing but a tool for her physical needs. What are you? A male prostitute for hire? Makoto clutched his head, tears and snot streaming down his face. Watching a grown man cry like that, I was completely drained of anger. I told her to divorce you and marry me. He sobbed, but she refused. What else can I do? This idiot. Fine. I'd help him once. Helping him was helping myself. After all, I leaned in close to his ear and told him the plan I had in mind. Chapter 9. When I walked out of the cafe, I happened to see David crouched outside the window, sticking his ass out while eavesdropping. When David spotted me, his face was full of "You got to be kidding me" frustration. You can tolerate that. You should have beaten the shit out of him. I pointed at Makoto, who was still sitting there in a daze. Didn't you see his head bleeding? David instantly brightened up. He dragged me off to lunch. I knew the raging fire of gossip in his heart had already been lit, to force me to spill everything. He even started playing the values card. I'm a shareholder. I have the right to know. If you and Willow don't handle this divorce properly, I'm pulling my investment. A rich second-generation kid raised with a silver spoon. He really does go to great lengths just to entertain himself. At lunch, I told David everything between me and Willow, start to finish. After listening, David frowned. Nope, I'm withdrawing my investment from Willow's company. That idiot is a love-brained mess. My dad says it. Partners who think with their feelings will get people killed. A month passed. Sure enough, trouble hit Willow's parent company. 2 partners chose not to renew their contracts when they expired. Those 2 partnerships had originally been negotiated by me. Somehow, they'd heard rumors that Willow and I were getting divorced. So once the contracts expired, they cut ties decisively. Business people are sharp. The slightest hint of trouble makes them panic. When I saw Willow again, she immediately came at me with accusations. George, even if we're divorcing, you shouldn't sabotage the parent company. That's our joint effort. It's like our child. Let's be clear, I didn't sabotage anything. And even if I had, she'd deserve it. Had she forgotten? Just a month ago, she'd sworn she'd make me leave with nothing. Are you fucking stupid? Willow, I don't own a single cent's worth of shares in the parent company. What does its losses have to do with me? I looked at her like she was an idiot. Have you been around idiots for too long and caught it? Or did Makoto hide from evolution and drag you into the cave with him? Can you try using your brain before you speak? We'd been together 5 years, almost inseparable day and night. If anyone in this world truly understood each other, it was us. Seeing how logically I spoke, she knew it wasn't me undermining her. She apologized cautiously. Then came the promises, the sweet talk, the begging to get back together. My patience ran out fast. Finally, she revealed her real goal. She wanted me to help renegotiate cooperation with those 2 companies. I slammed the divorce agreement onto the table. If you sign this and stop dragging things out with me, then maybe, if I'm in a good mood, I'll help you. But Willow wasn't completely brain dead. She knew that the moment she dared to sign, I'd mobilize every resource I had the very next day to steal her business. There was no way I'd actually help her. So she fled in panic. Watching her retreating figure, I laughed. Running like a dog. Too bad. Does running actually help? Sooner or later, she'd still come back and sign those divorce papers obediently. Because just yesterday, Makoto sent me a text. Judging by his tone, his head wound must have healed. He sounded confident again. George, you won't be smug for much longer. Willow will divorce you soon. Not bad. That brain-dead idiot was actually useful for once. Yes, it was my idea. I told him to go grovel in front of Willow's mother, to satisfy her fantasy of being an Empress Dowager. Looks like he did well. He must have gotten some kind of promise in return. Chapter 10. Sure enough, a week later, Willow came to me to discuss the divorce. What I didn't expect was that she still had the nerve to insist that I leave with nothing. She said, "George, you're the one insisting on the divorce. If you're not willing to leave empty-handed, then I'll drag this out with you. The only concession I can make is not taking back the luxury apartment I rewarded you with back then." As she kept talking, she even started getting into character. "George, you also want to cut things clean after the divorce, right? If you don't give me the branch company shares, we'll inevitably keep running into each other at work. That kind of lingering connection won't be good for either of us." I looked at her like she was mentally deficient. "Willow, I really don't know where you get the audacity. Is what you're carrying on your neck a brain, or an ass?" Watching her suppress her anger, I continued. "Willow, from the moment you started keeping a lover on the side until now, have I ever said a single bad word about you to the media? If I had, you know exactly what your parent company's stock price would look like right now. You cheat on me and still dare to demand that I leave with nothing. If that's not an ass on your neck, then what is?" Willow stood up, lifted her chin, and glared at me, ready to explode. I slapped her across the face without hesitation. "If you don't sign, I'll go straight to the media and expose your dirty laundry. I'm not afraid of losing face. I still have one. You never did. But are you really willing to sacrifice your parent company?" Her head snapped to the side from the blow, her eyes filled with shock. "George, I don't believe it. You don't love me at all anymore. We've been together for. Don't fucking disgust me, you stupid piece of trash. Just looking at you makes me sick. Love? Go love that rotten cucumber of yours. Sign the papers now, or I'll call the media this very second." Willow knew exactly how I did things. She didn't dare stall. She signed the divorce agreement immediately. What was mine stayed mine. What was hers stayed hers. I let out a long breath. At last, this fucked up marriage was officially over. After the divorce, Willow would still come to the branch company from time to time under the pretense of inspections, just to disgust me. Although the branch was financially independent, it was still nominally under the parent company, so I couldn't outright refuse her. Watching the branch company flourish, Willow grew visibly greedy. In the end, she couldn't hold back and proposed buying my shares. Honestly, seeing that disgusting thing parading around in front of me every day was getting on my nerves too. So I sold her my shares at a price 70% above market value. At first, Willow refused. The price was outrageously high. So I went to Makoto. I told him that after the divorce, Willow was still coming to the branch company every day to pester me. That was enough to drive him crazy. People who start as the other one are most afraid of someone else using the same method to climb over them. At the shareholders meeting, right in front of everyone, he blew up at Willow. "You're already divorced from George. Why are you still clinging to him? Now we're married. Are you trying to chase George the same way you chased me back then? Willow, is it always the unattainable that you value most?" That did it. What had been carefully kept under wraps was blown wide open by Makoto at the shareholders meeting. Willow was afraid Makoto would cause even more trouble. She was also afraid I'd sell my shares to someone else and strip her of control. She couldn't stand losing her grip on the branch company. In the end, she had no choice but to grit her teeth and buy my shares. Just like that, 3 months after the divorce, I took the money and walked away from the branch company completely, clean and whole. Chapter 11. The day after I left the branch company, I started preparing my new venture. Not long after, David showed up with a group of shareholders from Willow's former company. "George," he said, "I brought investors. You gonna welcome us or what?" Looking at the crowd in front of me, I was stunned. I pulled David aside and asked him quietly what was going on. After hearing his explanation, everything became clear. Turns out, after I left the branch company, Makoto moved a bunch of his relatives to Orange City. Every single one of them got shoved into the branch company. When there weren't enough positions there, they stuffed some into the parent company instead. Willow's mother, who had already been itching to do this, also started placing her own people into the parent company. In no time, both companies under Willow turned into full-blown family businesses. The shareholders started fleeing one after another. Some who were still hesitating finally made up their minds after Makoto caused a scene at the shareholders meeting last time, leading to media exposure, Willow cheating during marriage, Makoto knowingly being the third party, and then successfully taking the top spot. The parent company's stock price kept dropping. In the end, they all ran, with so many investors showing up at once. Of course I welcomed them. President Du, who used to hold the largest stake in the parent company, grabbed my hand and said, "George, I'll be honest with you, I wanted to hang on a bit longer, but when I saw Willow's second uncle, the one with a literal brain thrombosis, become head of company security, every time I entered the building and he saluted me with his shaking hands, I was afraid he'd collapse on the spot. That's when I knew I couldn't stay anymore. Someone was going to die sooner or later." The shareholders burst out laughing. At the shareholders meeting, David clenched his fist and swore to me, "George, if you don't snatch every last one of that dog woman's orders, I'll look down on you." I gave him a reassuring gesture. Of course, snatching everything was a joke. My company was just getting started, while Willow's two companies had been around for years and already had strong industry reputations. Still, through connections and sheer effort, I managed to take quite a few orders away from Willow's companies. What I didn't expect was that a year later, Willow's empire would completely implode. First came the branch company. Makoto's father, Willow's father-in-law, used his position to withhold company procurement funds. He planned to gamble big and cover past losses. Instead, 3 days in Macau became his final spree. 70 million. He burned through it in 3 days. By the time Willow found him, the man was still there, but the money was gone. To her credit, Willow didn't hesitate for a second. She sent her own father-in-law straight to jail. No matter how much Makoto fought her on it, she didn't soften. But before she could even catch her breath, Willow's younger brother followed suit and withheld procurement funds from the parent company. This one was even worse, 100 million. He'd gone to Macau with his brother-in-law's father last time, spent 3 days there, and got completely addicted. After losing the full 100 million, he showed up with his head down and confessed to Willow. Makoto stood nearby, watching coldly. He wanted to see whether Willow could really choose justice over blood. Willow had long despised her brother. Ever since he was born, she'd been invisible in that household. But Willow's mother was no pushover. That was her precious son, her lifeline. When she pressed a pair of scissors against her own throat, Willow compromised. Makoto, however, snapped. The man who had always groveled and kept his head down didn't care anymore, not even about pleasing the Empress Dowager. He lunged forward and started fighting with Willow's mother. Beating a woman wasn't hard for him, but this was still Willow's home. Willow's father and brother jumped in and beat Makoto senseless. And this time, they beat him into complete submission. Chapter 12. After that incident, Willow began a thorough investigation of both companies. Turns out the whole relatives clique was rotten to the core. Even Willow's second uncle, the one with cerebral thrombosis, would pocket a mouse every day after work. In just 1 year, 2 once profitable companies were gnawed down to empty shells by this swarm of parasites. By the time Willow gambled everything, pooling all remaining funds and trying to save the parent company with a municipal government project, she had already lost, because that project had been personally greenlit by David's father. On the day of the bidding meeting, when I shook hands with the client representative and posed for photos, Willow collapsed into her chair. As I walked out of the venue, Willow grabbed me, her eyes full of desperation. "George, just help me this once. Give me this project. I'll pay you more, okay?" I smiled and nodded at her. After all, 1 day as husband and wife earns 100 days of grace. I wouldn't just stand by and watch you die. She burst into tears on the spot. At that moment, the client representative, Dorian, walked over and looked at the two of us in surprise. "George, what's going on here?" I immediately shook off Willow's hand. "Dorian, I'd like to report something. President Liu is trying to buy this project by offering extra money. That's bid rigging, serious misconduct." Willow stared at me, completely stunned. Dorian snorted coldly. "Nonsense. President Liu, your company is hereby banned from participating in any future municipal government bids." One sentence. That was the death sentence for Willow's company. Not long after, both of Willow's companies entered bankruptcy liquidation. When the news broke, shareholders big and small wiped cold sweat from their foreheads. Thank God they ran early, otherwise they'd be getting buried with Willow right now. After going bankrupt, Willow kept showing up downstairs at my company, wandering around every day. I was so unnerved that I hired 2 bodyguards to protect me. One day, loud arguing downstairs disrupted a meeting I was in. The shareholders and I crowded by the window to look down. We saw Makoto kneeling in front of Willow, begging desperately, "Willow, please divorce me. I really can't carry this debt anymore. The money you owe, what does that have to do with me? How did it become marital debt?" Willow's face was ice cold. She didn't say a word. Before long, a gaudily dressed, overweight woman in her 50s strode over and yanked Makoto up. "Have some backbone, will you? Stop begging her. I'll pay it for you." Makoto's face lit up with joy. He followed the rich woman straight into a Maybach parked by the roadside. Willow just watched Makoto leave, her expression cold. Only after he was gone did she finally collapse on the curb, squatting down and crying uncontrollably. I was baffled. I never heard Makoto had a rich, beautiful sugar mama. David laughed darkly. "Beautiful, please. That's Makoto's new patron. Word in the circle is, she's a bit twisted. Likes people licking her toes." The shareholders shuddered in unison. I waved my hand magnanimously. "What do you know? Every toe of a rich woman is an Alp to Makoto. He's loving it." From that day on, Willow never appeared downstairs at my company again. I heard she sold her properties and cars, barely managing to plug the financial hole in the end. Who knows whether she still has the courage she once had to start all over again. The next time I saw Willow was 6 months later, at David's wedding. At that moment, a floor manager in a Cheongsam walkie-talkie clipped to her waist caught my eye. She looked oddly familiar. When our eyes met, I finally recognized her. Willow. Half a year had passed. She looked older, and her gaze was no longer as sharp as before. Sigh. Back then, she'd sworn that even if she gave everything up and became a 9-to-5 corporate drone, she'd still marry Makoto. Looks like that vow finally came true. Looking at Willow standing stiffly at attention, I nodded. Not bad. Looks convincing. Willow's face darkened completely. Beside her, an older woman in a janitor's uniform was wiping vases at the wedding venue. When I walked over, she turned around, saw me, and her eyes lit up instantly. George, is that you? Well, I'll be damned, it was Willow's mother. Oh my, Empress Dowager, I said cheerfully. What are you doing working as a cleaner now? Inspecting the lives of the common folk. This humble subject greets your majesty. Willow grabbed her mother and fled in panic, watching their disheveled retreating figures. I couldn't help but laugh out loud.